karanasan ko po, tingnan pa namin sa lahat ng karanasan ko po, tingnan pa namin sa lahat ng
Media educators are warning call to become press freedom.
This corruption in media won't be reduced to
Maryo Delos Reyes is a multi-awarded film and television director with over 70 movies since his directorial debut in 1978, including films such as the 80s cult classics Baguettes and Ani Batong Bakal. His latest movie, Bamboo Flowers, was submitted as an entry to the Film Development Council of the Philippines. It is set in Delos Reyes' home province of Bohol and tells a story of resiliency in the face of adversity, which is represented by the bamboo flower.
We also must produce beautiful flowers in our lives.
From musicals to comedy to heavy drama, director Maryo Delos Reyes has indeed lit up our film industry and will continue to shine in the years to come. Good evening, you're watching News Café on the Solar News Channel, and joining me tonight is an award-winning film and television director who has directed over 70 movies since his directorial debut in 1978, including Magnifico, Tagos ng Dugo, Ani Batong Bakal, and Baguettes. He is director Maryo Delos Reyes. Good evening, Direct Mario.
Good evening. Good
Thank
evening.
you very much for coming here.
You're most welcome.
Despite you're very busy, said you just came from shooting, ganun talagang buhay director, no?
Sanayan lang yan.
Sanay, walang tulog. Now, you have wanted to be a director ever since you were a child, no? Kwento nyo naman sa amin, you were doing your own plays
Yeah.
with your house help.
I wanted to be a director since I was in kindergarten. So I felt it when I was assigned to do some little plays and then like my
Entertainment sa bahay.
entertainment, not only in the house but in school. My teacher would assign me to, and he would ask my opinion on how to decorate the room for Christmas, or that if we were going to present a play for Christmas. And as I mentioned in an article before, or last
Just last
Sunday,
weekend, yes, you had an article in Star.
that I played Virgin Mary in Letran.
That's right.
Yeah,
An
because it
all-boys
was an
school.
all-boys school. So that was my parang
Introduction.
And at the same time, at home, I would gather our housemates, yung mga kasamahan namin, kasambahay sa bahay, and I would ask them after their work if they are available. So they would be reading scripts that I scribbled.
You would write, imagine.
Little scripts, because I listen to the radio very often.
So that's what got you interested.
Yeah,
to the
and
subject.
I wanted yung mga play. So, English pa noon I had mga Hansel and Gretel, and then we would put it up. I would ask my playmates if we could, I would assign them roles, and then I would put a curtain in the backyard.
Full production.
Full production yun, Tapos, I would ask my mom, baka pwedeng she would buy these ensemadas.
May snacks pa.
May snacks pa, libre. So,
But you charged your playmates 5 centavos.
5 centavos. Tapos, may snacks pa, so bawi na lahat with a play pa. So, it was fun.
Entrepreneurial.
And then another thing that I forgot to mention in the article was that I was very interested in these rituals, these religious rituals. So that when my parents would bring me to church, so during Holy Week, there would be the processions for the
Yes.
Santo Entierro, for the Holy Week
All the ceremonies, no?
And then there would be the salubong on Easter.
Yes.
So I would have my own small procession at home, and I would gather all my, these empty shoe boxes, cover them with punda, these pillowcases, and
Very creative.
then I would put on these estampitas as my mga statues or mga images.
You should have
And
kept those.
Yeah, I would pull them through strings and then procession them around the house. And then my mother would be looking around, bakit ang dumi-dumi ng lahat ng mga punda natin?
Hindi niya alam ginagamit
May
pala.
problema.
What inspired you to do this? I mean, was this
My
something...
mom siguro, because she was an art teacher and she used to teach at at the Philippine Women's University. She was heading the home economics department. And every time I would come from school, because her classes would be late, so I would be finishing my elementary from Malate. I would go to wait for her so that we would be together riding the car. No? My dad would fetch me first, and I would wait for her. And then I would be looking around, scribbling, whatever. And then makikialam na ako sa lahat ng ginagawa ng mga estudyante niya.
Very interesting. At some point, you went to seminary. You went to Our Lady of Guadalupe Minor Seminary. So what made you decide to maybe pursue that path at that
Because
young
there
age?
was a bandwagon. You know, like it was a time when the priest in Father O'Grady, our principal at that time in Malate, would be inviting all the graduates who would be interested to go to the seminary. There was a group of us who said, oh, we would all go and we would all try because it would be fun being in a dormitory,
So, barkada
sharing
pala
snacks, barkadahan. We didn't realize that, you know, it was that stiff and that was really rigid and very serious. So,
Yeah.
and eventually we lasted, I lasted for 4 years. After that, my prefect of discipline and my guidance counselor told me, I think you better stay outside and study in the university because I think you can evangelize better if you're outside.
But you brought theater there. You
I
were
brought
also doing
theater. I
into the
brought.
seminary.
I disturbed the chapel. I would. They could not say mass in the chapel because my set was there already, and nobody could disturb it. So they would say the mass elsewhere. So, and then I would use the courts or the side the gardens as my theater area. So. I really disturbed it, and not really disturbed.
You found
but
an outlet.
I found an outlet, and I brought theater to them, and I expressed to them that any space where ideas would grow would be theater.
Yes, wonderful. And you brought this as well when you went to college. You went to the UP College of Mass Communications.
And well, I really wanted to become a director, so I pursued first. I joined PETA when I was in high school, so that was the Philippine Educational Theater Association. I got to meet Mrs. Cecil Guidote Alvarez and Lupita Kashiwahara. They were my mentors and my greatest influences in terms of the arts.
What was it like working with them? I mean, how was it? What kind of inspiration?
They were
did you get
firm.
from-
They were very strict, and they were disciplined. So they would tell me, no, this cannot work. And they would really pound on my head that, you have to work on it and devote yourself. And if it was your passion, then work for it like no other. Like it was giving your life to it.
Right.
You know.
Well, you graduated with honors in 1974.
Yes, I did. And kumbaga saan maarte na talaga ako nung araw.
Pang showbiz talaga kayo,
At
direct.
saka, I really incorporated all of this kaartehan in my art. And I made use of them well,
Yeah.
I guess.
You also got to travel. Was it between the 60s and 70s? You were part of a UNESCO conference, and you
Yes.
went to Mexico. How did that influence your work?
Because my thesis was on theater and making use of theater as a popular vehicle for popularizing the family planning methods. So I used that in
Mexico,
college.
they used Marimar, didn't they,
Yeah.
for that? Yeah.
And then that was, I sent it over to, Mrs. Guidote sent it over to Mexico. She was a delegate for the International Women's Year in I think that was in 1975.
June 1975.
You knew it better. And then, and I brought my thing. I performed as dala-dala ko yung mga kulintang. I danced the Igorot dance
Wow.
for them. And
One-man show kayo.
One-man show. So, yun. From there, I got to have an invite from the UNESCO to do in New York, my report. And then from there, my sister who was in Switzerland told me, if you want, you can swing to Europe and visit me. And she would take care of my expenses, my trip.
Wow.
And why not? I said, it was a nice,
Good experience
good
for someone so
experience
young.
after college.
Yeah.
And she even asked me if I wanted to stay there and work there because there were very few Filipinos at that time and they would be allowing. I said, no, I want to be a director.
And back home, you
back
wanted to-
home. So I went back.
You really pursued your dreams.
And then I started to work under Lupita Kashiwahara. She was doing Katha and I think, a lot of shows with Nora.
Yes.
Superstar and Mahulay na Daigdig ni Nora. And I was her assistant.
Yeah.
And then she asked me to give workshops to the brother of Nora, who was Eddie Villamayor. And Nora joined in, and that was the start of our friendship.
Yeah.
So she got to ask me to direct for her in Mahulay na Daigdig ni Nora. And then later on for her movie, Ani Batong Bakal.
Well,
And that
very
started
colorful time for you. Even won the Patas Award for Best Television Director and Best Television Writer.
That was unexpected. I was really trying my best to make a mark of the works I've done, and I don't know. I was recognized, and
Yeah.
I was very happy.
Well,
And,
what was it like working with Nora Honor? Siyempre, the legend. At the time,
friends
no?
kami. So parang there was respect, especially when I was teaching. And at the same time, she was a very diligent student. She's an intelligent person. She's very vulnerable. That makes her quite susceptible to a lot of influences.
Yeah.
Maybe friends could, or even people who
might take advantage.
So, but our friendship lasted, and it's just like saying. What I've seen her of, what I know her last would be when I'd pick it up again,
You had a good working relationship. She
Yes.
really kept asking you even to do workshops.
Up to now,
with
I mean,
her.
when we see each other, it's still Kuya Mar and Ate Guy.
Yeah.
That
Well,
kind of-
shortly after that stint with her, you also directed your first film. This is High School Circa.
High School Circa 65. Because of my working with children, I was asked by Tom Adrales and Agrix Films to work on their new project, which was about high school in the 60s. So that was High School Circa 65, but this was done in 1978.
Ah, okay.
So it was a period film, High School Circa 65, and then I had more than 100 cast members.
Wow.
And they were headed by Eddie Rodriguez, Charo Santos, and Lisa Lorena.
Wow.
And I had the whole cast of Apat na Sikat and the ones of Ike Losada, all of the children who were famous at that time.
Yes.
Sina Jingle, sina
Classic na.
Arnold Gamboa, sina all of the Roderick Paulate.
They call this the second golden age of Philippine cinema. What was it
The
like
70s.
then?
Oh, it was fun because you would be transferring from set to set, and after my first film, I got maybe 10 offers to do.
Wow.
To do.
Konti-konti nyo lang nun eh. Diba?
At saka
Handful of
masaya.
directors.
Yung bang, it was there was a difference. There was a group of people working in the films, and then people working in the television. So hindi naghahalo-halo.
How did you feel between your writing and directing? Was there ever some tension that you felt, I want to, it's distracting?
I started as a writer, but I had to give it up because my directorial time would be consumed. So I shifted to simply going directorial in 1980. I had my first script, which was a musical to, what was that? The one with Vilma Santos and Christopher De Leon. Disco Fever.
Fever, okay.
Yeah, it was a big hit for Leia Productions. And that was the time also my mother died. So buti na lang I had money to...
Yeah, what a difficult time
And
then.
that was the writing. And then I shifted to directing. I couldn't write anymore, but I do some scribbling when I corrected scripts that I do.
But at the time, you were also teaching. You were a professor at UP and
Yes.
carrying out workshops also.
And then I do workshops and still teach at the UP at that time. And then I tried again 2 years ago teaching at the College of Mass Communication.
Oh, what was that like? What did you think?
It was too hectic. I felt I was shifting from directing to writing, to teaching, and then doing some
Big
workshops.
commitment to check
and then
the grades.
doing some managing. So,
Yeah, because a
talent
typical day for you is just, I don't know, almost 20 hours. How is it now? You're working on a teleserye.
Yes, I'm working on
So
Nino.
what is your typical day like nowadays? It's really hectic. Walang
It's-
tulog.
Oo nga, sabi ko kay Kuya Germs, walang tulugan talaga ito.
Wala, totoo.
Hindi, it would start at around 6 in the morning. And then that would be traveling to the set. I'd be working up to around, there would be breaks. MWF, this is an MWF schedule. And I would be working till the wee hours of the morning, maybe 4 or 5 in the morning. And then that's the time for me to sleep, wake up at the following day at around 11, attend to meetings at lunch. Tuloy-tuloy na yon hanggang sa 7. Then I would go to the office and do some paperworks up to around 9 or 10.
Yes, then
or,
weekends may ibang...
and kung weekend naman, I have some friends with me, mga siguro...
You get
go
some
out,
downtime naman, no, Direk?
Konting
little bit of-
relaxation, chill-chill ng konti.
Right, because you need the energy, fuel.
And the following day would be another... Sunday, masarap because you stay at home and just attend to things like watching tapes or updating myself with the films.
Right, the current films maybe, or... Do you
Or
have any-
going out and watch, and maybe travel or go to Bohol. You know.
Because you are from Bohol, yes. Your
Yes,
mother's
yes.
from Bohol.
My
And you have a
mother is
home in
from-
Tagbilaran.
My mother is from Alicia, which is a 2-hour drive from Bohol, from the Tagbilaran, from the city. And she hails from there. But I have an apartment in Tagbilaran, which is the city. And then I go back to Tagbilaran the following day, stay overnight, and keep the farm going because my siblings, my brothers, my 2 other brothers who are already in the States, so I'm the only one left here.
So this
attending
is
to
what you
everything.
do for some balance. It's good to get away.
Yes,
At least you get your
yes,
break
yes.
time.
And it's free. It makes me relax.
Yeah.
Just walking around and sweating.
Because in this industry, wow, burnout talaga, no? You can really lose yourself.
And it's just that working time. Yun naman eh. But I enjoy it. So I don't think I will prefer another kind of lifestyle.
No, you won't go back.
I'd love to direct, even up to the point na hindi na kaya ng katawan ko.
Yeah.
Pero I still want to direct.
Well, we'll be talking more about those films and your life. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll hear more from Direct Maryo. Welcome back to News Cafe with our guest, Director Maryo J. Delos Reyes. Okay, Direct Maryo, more about your career. Now, were there any specific themes that you liked tackling in the beginning when you were setting out to just...
I had no
work with
choice
movies?
in the beginning, so I was entering the industry. So whatever they would give me, I would grab, because
Beggars
you take
can't be
advantage.
choosers, yes.
Beggars can't be choosers, di ba? So anything. But I was a big hit. I was I had even an article that says the new kid on the blockbuster. So ako yung kasi my films would be making money. So I had a high school circa, and then Gabon, and then when I did Ani Batong Bakal, which is a big hit.
Yeah.
It was continuous na, and then I received a lot of offers making the same musicals, or related
In
musicals.
demand. And of course, how can we not think of Baguettes, the blockbuster film?
Baguettes was a big hit, so it was the trendsetter of the time.
Yeah.
So from then on, I received another 11 offers doing the same youth film-oriented, movie. So I said, but I don't want to repeat myself.
Yeah.
So more or less, I would be shifting from musical to youth-oriented films to drama, and then doing again like a fantasy, like mga kwento ni Lola Basha. And I like to tell stories for children. And then I also want to do relationship films, like I did My Other Woman. So
Some of your-
bago pa nauso yung mga, because nauso na yan with Eddie Rodriguez, that eternal triangle, di ba?
Right.
The
yung
one
mga-
with Marlene Dowde and Eddie Rodriguez. Hindi ka pa siguro pinapanganak.
Narinig ko lang ngayon.
Oo. So these are the eternal triangles.
And they came back, no?
And then they
Recently,
came back.
bumabalik yung
And
team
then
na
when
yun.
we were looking for a project for Alice Dixon, I said, why don't we make her another woman? So it was a big hit too. So and then I was contracted with Mother Lily for the next 20 years.
Wow.
I was with Regal Films.
Yeah.
And I asked mother, up to when is my contract? No, just we can just keep on renewing and
Hindi
renewing
kayo
until
papakwalan.
this is for a lifetime, Mario.
At least you were assured of a job for a long time.
But it was tough working wherever, doing films.
Yeah.
And
What were some of the biggest challenges for you at that time?
to make sure that the films make money. And
Because that is a really necessity.
and at the
for
same
commercial
time
film.
dealing with new actors all the time because it was a time to discover and at the same time to keep on bringing in some new talents.
Yeah.
And then innovating yourself.
Yes.
And keeping up with the times, like what is supposed to be the next trend. And what
Well,
could-
speaking of innovation, you have been referred to as someone who can really be versatile. You shift from one genre to the other very easily.
Yeah.
So
And then during even during they were doing yung mga pito-pito at that time. I even tried it when I did mga Paraiso de Efren. It was a relationship film that we had to shoot for. Kaya lang I was I was a
effect.
failure. I always end up not shooting in 7 days but for 21 days. So that's 7 times 3 all the time, and they would pound me and said, "No, you're over budget all the time." So
Well, according to veteran actress Dr. Rustica Carpio, she said after working with you in Don't Cry For Me, Papa,
Yeah.
sabi daw niya, a gentleman of the first order, he never loses his temper, and moreover, he brings film scholarship to the set. So
Thank
this
you.
is what you're known for.
Baka she did not see me lose my temper. I didn't lose my temper during her time when I was directing her.
You learn a great deal of patience in this job.
But sometimes I lose my temper. I really lose my
can't
temper,
help
and I'm very, very vicious about it. There was a time before I entered charismatic. I was very loquacious. I would, throw things and. Siguro when the other actors that I have thrown things at would testify to that they would they would sometimes be afraid and prevent
What
themselves.
really then? What gets you going? What would it take to get Direct Mario really mad?
If you're not listening to my instructions and then you don't know what to do when I ask for a take, that hits me up.
Yeah.
Really, that pisses me off. And
Well, what do you think of the actors today compared to the classic, the ones you used to work
the
with
actors
in the past?
today are very zealous and they're very studious. They're very dedicated. As a matter of fact, they're too focused on making bucks or working.
They want box
on
office
working.
na. Working like workaholics.
Workaholic, and
Okay.
at the same time, I keep on telling them that you don't look for don't consider this racket. It is work. It is passion. Because pag racket ka, you go go somewhere else.
That's a common term used in the industry.
Oo, hindi racket yan. Trabaho talaga ito. At saka, if you have to study. It's just like a doctor
Yes.
cannot operate if he doesn't study. A lawyer cannot defend if he
Yes.
doesn't go to law school. It's the same thing like acting. You study because you cannot just act because you have a beautiful face or
Right.
you're just your talent would be diminished to what you only know, and you cannot discover other techniques, and mauubusan ka.
So who would you say are some of among your favorites or some of the good ones that you've worked with?
Well,
Any favorites?
the noted ones like sila Nora, Vilma,
Of course, yeah.
and the stalwarts. So we have Maricel, Sharon, and the rest. They're dedicated. They're committed, like Christopher and Cesar.
You said in an interview.
And even the young ones now, I don't underestimate their dedication.
So what do you think of the current movies being produced these days? Say, speaking of
It's
Lisa
good
Fila.
because there's a mixture of the indies and the mainstream. The mainstream, the big studios keep on producing the films that they really produce. So just like Star Cinema, GMA Films, Regal's still there.
Right.
So, and it's good because there are a lot of agencies that support now the indie projects, like the Cinemalaya, the Cinema One Originals, everywhere. And then a lot of producers would go into indie and they say, maliit lang bang budget dyan? Ganun. Sabi ko, No, no, no. It's not the budget that matters. It's really, because what makes an indie is because it becomes an independent film. It's a
Right.
personal film.
Right.
But the budget can go as much as you want.
Yeah. So you
and
said
in as little as you can.
that's
you know.
right. Well, people are quite, you were saying also in one of your recent interviews that with independent films, people don't really want to fund it because they can't control it. Maybe
Yeah.
it's really for creative freedom for an
Freedom,
artist.
and it is the artist's way of expressing himself.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, though it depends.
Yeah.
It depends on the kind of approach the artist would work
Mm-hmm.
on how he wants to express whatever his theme or whatever is inside him.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very filmmaker focused.
Right.
Rather than the studio that would be producing it. Or like I have a friend who is saying that I want to do a film with you. I want you to tackle the elderly. So that's what I'm working on now.
Yeah.
Like there have been 3, like I want to do films about Bohol. I conceived this as a trilogy, my tribute to it. The first one was about the aspirations of the young. So I want to talk about the young people in Bohol, which I presented in Bamboo Flowers. The second one would be about the elderly because I had experiences with the elderly. And I felt they were so helpless. And even myself, if I arrive at that point of being an ultra senior,
Makes you think of your own situation.
yes, I would really feel so helpless. Like
Yeah.
there would be, if you don't have money, where would you go? If you don't have children, who would help you?
Yeah.
And then the third one would be about the nonconformist, what I call the infidels, or somebody like, because since Bohol is so strict in terms of morals and virtues,
Yes.
so what happens if you don't conform, or if you are, let's say, you become a mistress, or you
Yes.
are
Right.
nonconformist in terms of your sexual preferences, if you're a homosexual or a lesbian,
Yeah.
or whatever, or if you
Very
go out of
philosophical.
if you go out of the monastery, you get out of priesthood or religious vocation, because very strict morals in terms of family values and keeping the clan, keeping what is upright.
And it's good to have films like this, which really inspire Filipinos to
Yes,
think.
and I want them to say that everybody is equal.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in terms of nobody could say that I am more, I'm richer here or
Right,
materially or
Yeah.
we are all equal in
Yeah.
terms of our problems are basically the same: relationships, personal aspirations,
Right. So we have common problems.
religion,
Yes,
religion,
exactly.
morals, everything.
It's just how
So I
we
just
view
want
it.
to tackle them because I feel that I see them in that province in a very compact
Yes.
way. So
Well, let's talk about Bamboo Flowers. This is a project that you did after getting a grant from the Film Development Council of the Philippines. So last year, 12 filmmakers were given this grant.
Yes.
And the whole point is to do a film in your hometown. That's why you
yes,
chose
we were
Bohol.
encouraged to shoot in our hometown. I was, and then I went to, well, I was thinking when Chito was going to Samar,
This is Chito
and
Ronyo,
Chito
Direct
Ronyo, and then Peke was in Bacolod. So I said, why don't I go to Bohol, because that's where my mother hails from. And that's where my roots are.
Yes.
And that's where I'm trying to connect again. So I started to move around. I said, I don't want to do a film on the Gohoy anymore, or the historical figures, or on the Chocolate Hills and the Tarsier. I don't want any touristic.
Overdone na.
Overdone na. So sabi ko, what can I do to express what the situation is in Bohol and what the people would want to say? I got to go to mass, to church, and when I listened to the recessional song, which was "Give Thanks," you give thanks to the
Closing.
Holy One, you know.
Yes, yes.
And now when the weak say I am strong and the poor say I am rich, it is because of what the Lord has done for us. So that was the chorus, and I said, I think this should be the theme of my film, and make the Boholanos realize that they are rich in their own way,
Yes.
and they are strong, and their weaknesses is just because they feel they are weak, you know. And so I realized, like for example, telling them that why do tourists come over and spend thousands of dollars to see the chocolate hills? They're so rich. Their place is so rich.
Exactly.
They're rich in natural resources, in abundant in beauty, and
Yes.
if they only have the to know and to realize that I'll put
What they
their
have.
efforts together,
Yeah.
and then they can do things in the most magical way,
Yeah.
and come up with the best.
Yeah. It's interesting
And-
because of your film. I learned bamboo flowers apparently come out only when the plant is about to die.
No, no, and
What
then I
was that?
started to discover, and I said, I brought in my writer,
Yeah.
Aloy Adlawan. He stayed there for more than a week, and then I told him to interview my friends, people around, and even anybody whom he encounters. So he came up with the 4 stories, and then I said, let's narrow them down to 3, and then focus on the children, young adults. And then when we were putting it together, I said, what is the title? There was a time I traveled around Abatan River. This is a new route for tourism because before they used to just visit the Lobok
Lobok,
River,
yeah, it's always
where you
Lobok
have
River.
the
Firefly.
ride and then you sing. There are some troubadours singing for you while taking lunch. No?
Yes.
As you travel around the river. Now this Abatan River is a 5 or more kilometer ride. And then I started to see the bamboo trees along the river. And then I said, what are those things hanging on the bamboo trees? And then our guide said, those are the bamboo flowers. Oh, are there flowers for the bamboos really make or
never usually
produce
see
flowers? Yes, they are flowers. They are just, leaves intertwined together to look like chandelier-shaped flowers. And then I said, but they said the metaphor is the trick there is, or the hitch there is that when the bamboo trees start to bloom with their flowers, the trees start to die.
So beauty that is a sign of the end.
The end. So when you hit a certain, when they reach that kind of stage, they start to wither and
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
So I said, what a beautiful metaphor for
Beautiful.
life. So
Exactly.
in life, you have to produce these beautiful flowers in order for you to say that you have a complete lifetime.
Right. Well, I like what it's in the film, the text that appears, it's buhay, pag-ibig, pag-asa.
Pag-asa,
Ito
yes.
nga yung lumalabas nga, di ba, sa
And
film.
that's what I was trying to say. The inspiration that
Yes.
you in a lifetime you have to produce beautiful flowers.
Right.
So that you make your mark, and at the same time not even to make your mark but to make your life meaningful.
Right.
And that's what I said in Bamboo
Well,
Flowers.
it's a very deep film. Now, what is your process in coming up with a writing? Let's say when it's directing quite a meaningful story. What do you where do you look for inspiration?
I don't know. They just
How?
come. They just
Yeah.
come. And then, or look at there was a beautiful comment to me by Bishop Pedrosa of Bohol. No? He is one of the bishops, and they were showing bamboo flowers in the seminary, and he was nudging me and said, "Oh, you're a genius." While they were watching, "You're a genius. You see," and he was very entertained by the scenarios. And then at first I felt so flattered, and I said, "Oh, the bishop is flattering me." But I felt, he might be, but I guess I realized it when he spoke after the film, and he expressed what his opinion was, and he said, there are special people that God has created, and these are the poets, the artists, and the priests. He said, because they see things extraordinary in the most ordinary things, and they see visions that God has given them, and they are special gifted people.
That's
And
true.
then I came to realize that what he said was very, very strong, and it had an impact
Yeah.
on me, that when you see things, you interpret it on a different level, and it makes you realize that because you are given such a gift, you are being given such bigger responsibility over a lot of other people,
That's
and for a lot of people, and you have to use this responsibility to make people understand the beauty of God's creation.
And how wonderful that you recognize this gift so young. You were making the most out of everything around
Praise
you.
the Lord.
To share this gift. Now, good thought to ponder as we take this short break. When we return, we will focus on the Pinoy movie industry today and where it's headed. Keep it here on the Solar News Channel. Ang ganda nun, direct. You're tuned in to the News Cafe on the Solar News Channel, and we're talking to Director Maryo J. Delos Reyes. Okay, Direct Mario, since 1978, when you first started your work, your career in the industry, how have things changed in terms of whether it's the ideology, aesthetics? How would you say the industry is?
How do I look at it now? Ngayon, well, technologically we're very advanced. The equipment have changed.
Yes.
The lights are bigger. They're more sensitive. The cameras are too highly technical, in advanced. I am amazed by when I see a set on my camera or on my monitor. Like last night, I was working on scenes. Like I just want a rain effect. So in a few seconds, gagawa yun.
Digital.
Uulan,
Right.
kikidlat, kukulog, ganon.
Yeah.
And then technically, the cameras move well, and they capture the scenes, the set, the lighting,
Right.
fantastic.
So it's so much easier
So
to
much
do
easier
films
to
now.
do. And I can monitor 3 cameras simultaneously or let them run simultaneously and then edit it at hand and make some re-editing in the post. And in the post, you can even change the entire set.
Right.
So technically, it's amazing.
But in terms of
In terms of stories, it's not that good. I mean,
they're churning out.
They're still churning out what we have been doing in the past. The past, I've been here. I'll be in the industry for maybe in a few years, in 2 years' time, or 78,
Ilan na?
40 years na.
Right.
4 decades. Pero yung mga stories are still the same.
Yeah. So we lack originality.
We lack originality, or we don't want to advance, or there are some facets of the industry that don't want to accept that Filipinos are able or willing to understand or are capable to understand more complex stories.
Right. Well, you work with teleseries, drama anthologies. How do you feel about the thought, especially with the big networks? They say, itong gusto ng mga masa. They
I
kind of
always
dumb
have a
down the
fight with
story.
my creative team. They don't like me because I'm
You're the thinker.
hard-headed and I'm stubborn, and
You make them, you push it.
I
you
push
make
it
them
to the
think.
limits, and I ask them, no, I've done this before. So I throw back the script at them and ask for another edition.
Right.
So I have to come up with so many, drafts, like, and it's not an easy job for them if I'm with them.
But that's
or
how they
working with
learn,
them.
I think, yeah.
Perhaps because I'm a teacher.
Yes.
And at the same time, like also the acting techniques move, but not as much. Second, and then my third regret would be the audience hasn't really moved further. Maybe because of education or because what we feed them with.
Right.
Because we just keep feeding them
Because
with the
media
right.
is a big influence in our lives.
Yes, the social media has influenced a lot the upbringing and the thinking of people, but it has not influenced most the intellectual upbringing. They have influenced how do you call it? The
mindset
more inane things, like
very superficial.
How do you call it? Like
Shallow
thinking. Like
yeah.
they like the intrigues. They like like
Gossip.
commenting.
Yes, right.
They don't look at things deeper.
Yes.
It's so skin deep. It's so superficial. I find it that way. That's why when people chat or they ask me, when they see me on the chat line or something like that, they keep on requesting for that I consider them as actors, and I always tell them this is not a place to audition.
Yeah.
Because you don't use that kind of media
Right.
for how do you call
To
it?
showcase
Selling
things.
yourself.
Yes, it's all about me na lang. Me generation.
You know, even my food, even my
Selfie generation.
selfie generation, masyadong self-contained.
Sobra na, no?
Oo, na-OA na ako. So, nakukornihan na
Nakakainis.
ako.
Oh,
ron
exactly,
talaga.
yeah.
Sometimes I don't open it anymore.
Yeah, especially being a director, they hope that you will discover them.
Yes,
maybe.
and then that's not the platform.
Yeah, yeah.
I tell them. Yun ang regrets ko. Tapos, the schools don't really function as they should. They're quite, parang nababagalan ako.
So what would you like to see happen then? What kind of education should then be instituted?
Well, because of like for example, the cine, how do you call that?
Sinencuentro. Yes, you're part of UST Sinencuentro.
Sinencuentro. That was a time where they had to reorient a lot of teachers and a lot of art teachers and a lot of cineastes that humanities is now being introduced in high school when formerly it was only in college.
Right.
So that was a good idea that now students are aware and are given the chance to appreciate and maybe to look at films on a different level, on a more academic level, rather than just watching them as romantic comedies or just because they idolize this artista or...
So film literacy, this is what Nick de Ocampo always talks about.
Yes.
Yes.
And it is now good because for me, humanities helped me a lot. I took humanities as a minor in my college, and my major was television broadcast. So when I took humanities, it assisted me in giving me the total, like the background in terms of getting very theoretical backgrounds on aesthetics, on looking at the painting. This is a Perugino painting. This is why is Impressionism called Impressionism or Expressionism?
The meanings behind it, no?
The meanings behind
Symbolism.
it, like Cubism. What makes it aesthetically acceptable? You know, and people don't know that. And they don't even have a sense of history. Like when you ask our artistas, they don't know who Atang de la Rama was, or who...
They have no context, and we need to understand our history.
And take a look at what we have produced before, because these are the basis of what we are producing now.
Right, yeah. Because you said that Filipino films are the products of our culture and are thus part of our heritage.
Of course.
This is what you're talking about, right?
Like, it's not just looking at them and making use of this Lubok Church as a background for your selfie.
Yeah.
But what is the history of this Lubok Church? Why was it constructed? What is it made of?
Yeah.
Why do they use, eggshells and egg whites to put these things together?
Yes. Well, I'm curious to know then what you think of internet celebrities or people who make movies that are then, let's say, broadcast on social media. Sometimes it's a lot of quantity, but not really
It's a good
quality.
attempt, but again, that has to be rehashed and, how do you call it, polished, because you just cannot sell raw things that are available in the market.
Right.
They really have to be processed and polished. So, what the proliferation of anybody who can just shoot a film or do a selfie, and I shoot you a scene perhaps, or even your sexual exercises to,
Naku, mga scandals
mga
na
scandal.
lumalabas, oh.
Hindi yan
Anything for their 15 minutes of fame.
Oh yeah, it is not there because you're not given the chance to show it. That's not art.
Right.
That is pornography or something
Yes.
to the effect that it's just because it satisfies your prurient interests.
This is the whole instant gratification thing.
That's
versus,
true, and it's not valid. You don't use the medium to express that.
Right.
It's a wrong it's a wrong way of doing it.
Right.
You know.
So
And
the actors of today, because maybe a lot of the young generation seem to get famous that way, very different from how it was back in the
There
70s.
that could be a chance for us to discover if they're really talented. Then why not? If you're really talented, your talent will come out.
Right.
It could never
True.
be prevented. You
That's
know,
true.
it's parang pag uukol talagang bubukol.
Tama yun.
You know.
Well, what will it take for the Philippine cinema to go back to its golden age? What do you think needs to be done?
When more artists get together and more freedom is given to them, and then I feel that we cannot tell when and where and how it will happen. I feel that it's just like an earthquake that it will just strike, and people just get together, minds meet,
Right.
and if the situation is right and the time is right and pleasant and fantastic, then
Yeah.
we'll have an awesome
Well, what
renaissance.
do you think the Philippine movie industry should do to take care of the people in the industry better? For example, with your working schedule, I mean, that's a little bit too much, no?
That's true.
What should be, this is not the healthy
It's
environment.
not a healthy environment. Well, I guess people should be more organized
Yeah.
in terms of, like the artists should be more organized. And then they should be given more power or empowerment. The artists should be more empowered. And I feel the law should be more exercised on this.
Yeah.
I just regret when our politicians who are supposed to be working on these bills are more concentrated on making money for
Yes.
themselves. It's
The
nakakahiya.
MTRCB,
parang.
minsan nangyayari sa ratings, no?
Oo.
This tends to happen.
And I think we have a lot of bodies,
Yeah.
who regulating bodies who should really come up with good, how do you call it, rules and regulations for people in the
And
industry.
to properly enforce
and
them.
properly enforce
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Because we are not wanting already in rules.
Right. We
But
have
it's just a
them all.
matter of enforcing and putting them into effect.
Parang gobyerno. Ayun nga,
Oo.
reflection of our government and our
Correct.
state. Yeah.
Oo, parang laging pag nasa gobyerno, it's business eh.
Yeah.
It should not be eh.
Yeah,
It should
that's
be
right.
more,
That's true.
di ba? Parang ang attitude is, yung mga anak mo papasukin mo sa politika because it's a business. It's not. Di
Yeah.
ba? Dapat yun, serving the people.
Yeah. Well, speaking of it being a business anyway, still people, you can learn a lot through your shows, through the different people you work with. What do you think of mentorship, though? We lack that. I think that's a big problem here.
I guess, and what we don't have are the mentors who are willing to mentor.
So it's not a formal
It's not a
setup.
There are a lot of talents who want to be mentored.
Yes.
But it's just that we cannot, the mentors who are willing to do their job as mentors are wanting and few.
Right. Because for your time, when you had your mentors, no, at the time,
Yes,
it
that's
was,
true. And then the ones who really want to be mentored have to spend some time dedicating their time to be with them,
Right.
even talking to them, or even just staying with them, or
Right.
just watching them.
Yeah.
Like there was a time when I was under Rod Paras Perez in UP. He asked us to work with and discover the artist by visiting the artist regularly, even talking to the wives of the artist or to the people, to the kins, and then watching wherever he's working, carrying his things.
so just observing them,
Just
no?
observing
Yeah,
and
you learn a
how
lot.
he deals with other people.
Yeah.
And how he works, especially even for dramatic artists like drama or theater people, just watching them rehearse or allowing them or watching them give instructions to their
Right.
actors and
Yeah.
actresses.
Yeah.
Just
So it's not necessary for people to go abroad to learn, because
Of
that's what
course.
people think, that I have to go abroad to really learn well.
we have a lot of people coming back and they
Yeah.
could not adjust.
Yeah.
And then when they say they are from abroad, they keep on saying that, don't say that you are from abroad because it will alienate you from a lot of people. And then they will say that you're matara, you're so
Right.
highfalutin or something.
Right. Well, now you've worked in theater, in television, movies. Any preference?
It's still the movies.
You're really for the movies,
It's the
yeah.
movies. Except for the fact that my major is television, but television for me is how do you call it? It's my lifeblood.
Yeah.
But movies is my
That's really what keeps you going. That's what
Keeps-
inspires this.
inspires
Is,
me.
yeah. Well, what do you think really keeps you on top of the game? Because you have been successful for so many years now. What is the secret to your success?
Just be yourself, be humble, and just keep to your, and then keep on being with the young and being advancing yourself. You cannot be, how do you call it? You
To
can-
always learn.
To always
keep up with
learn
the times.
and keep on being abreast with what is present, because you can never stay behind, you know.
Yeah.
And then you have to be updated all the time. You
Right.
should know, like, this thing is hitting because of that. You
Yes.
keep on watching, even
Right.
the corniest films, maybe,
Yeah.
you know, to see why it clicks.
That's right.
Or why why the lingo has become this way.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Direk Maryo.
Thank you so
You are
much.
such an inspiration. Thank you for sharing your life with
Thank
us
you so
here
much. Thank
on
you
News
so much.
Cafe. Now, that's all the time we have for tonight's program. I'd like to thank my guest, Director Maryo J. Delos Reyes, for joining us tonight. Now, if you have any comments on the show, you may share them on our Twitter and Facebook pages. You can also download the Solar News mobile app on your Android and iOS devices to watch News Cafe via live streaming and catch up on our previous episodes. See you next Thursday for more delicious conversations here on News Cafe. I'm Mitzi Borromeo. Good night.
Sa karoon sa bukod, tingnan pa na sa lahat ng video.